Ladies and gents, students, I'm super geeked out and excited today. I have a special guest with me. I've read majority of his books, by the way. The dude's an author. Woo! Happiness Revolution. But also a guy that dabbles, not only dabbles, but a pro in positive psychology. My pleasure, all the way across from the Atlantic Ocean. I'm here today with Dr. Andy Cope. Doc, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Love is my theme today. I'm excited and delighted. And I think before we start, I think I'm just going to doff my cap to you, my friend, because not all teachers are like you. You know what I'm saying? And I think your students need to understand that you're giving them something pretty special here in terms of your energy, your enthusiasm. I can feel it from over here, man. I'm 5,000 miles away and I'm feeling it. So Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Much obliged. But if you can, then tell us who you are and a little bit about you, because we'd love to eventually get into your journey and what a day in the life for you looks like. You have a very unique set of skills and types of career. So we'd just love to hear all about you, my friend.
Cool. Yeah, I'm obviously in England. I'm a doctor of happiness, which I know sounds a bit weird, but essentially that comes from about 20 years of research into a subject called positive psychology, which is basically all the stuff you believe. It's the science of human flourishing. So what I basically did was, if you think of all psychology as a subject, which I know you love, has been around for 150 years, and it's always been about illness and phobias, disorders, and anxiety and panic attacks. And I understand that needs fixing. But what I realized is for 150 years, traditional psychology has never, ever studied people who are already happy. So everybody watching this, right, can think of a handful of people in their life who've got something extra, whether it's an extra energy, an extra smile on their face, an extra spring in their step. These are the people who go the extra mile at work. They're just amazing to have in your lives. And what I realized is that psychology has completely ignored those people on the grounds of them not being ill. They're having a great life. So I decided to track them down. Who are they? Who are the happy people? What are they doing that allows them to flourish? And most importantly, my friend, is what could we then learn from them that we could apply to us so we might have a smile on our face also? And I think in a world that's doing its worst, which it currently is, then it's even more important that we know how to be at our best. So that's what I do, mate. I write books, I do webinars, I do keynotes around the themes of happiness and well-being.
Oh, well, I love it. And thank you for summing that up. For students who never knew, positive psychology is fairly new in the world of psychology's history and that's something that our schools offering that, or is that something that you had to kind of carve out your own path for?
It's still, like you say, it's very, very new. It's been around only for about 20 years since the turn of the millennium. And it's completely flipped psychology on its head. So imagine, instead of looking at ill people, we studied people who were already well. Imagine with what we could learn from them. And it is something that is new, but it's still not taught in enough universities, and it's still not taught in enough schools. If you get a psychology syllabus, it will still be 95% about illness and disorders and 5% about well-being. So I'm trying to tip the balance, and I think there's a lot we can learn from people who are functioning at their best.
Oh, I love it. And back to you, I feel your energy consistently, whether it's on media, your little bits in that across the world. So thank you for all you're doing to try to make people living their happier or best life 100%. Now, your audience, for sure, my students are between the ranges of about 16 to 18 years old in that. If you could time warp back to you at that age and then going now, could you walk us through a little bit maybe of the path of how you came to where you are happy, healthy, successful, and helping other people kind of live their best life?
Yeah, well, a lot of lucky breaks along the way, but I'm a hard worker. Okay, so nobody will outwork me. Seriously, they won't. They won't. But luckily I love my work, so it doesn't feel like work. But I work super hard, and I think it's a bit of a cliche, but the harder I work, the luckier I get, the more breaks that I get. Yeah, so that's really me. I'm up at 6 a.m. every single day. That's 7 days a week, up at 6 a.m. Bit like you. First thing will be exercise, get my body and my brain moving, and then from 7 a.m. I'm working all the way through, and I absolutely love it. But that's it. But it is seriously hard work. I'm not the cleverest person. I am a doctor. I have got a PhD, but I'm not particularly a naturally gifted academic person. I'm not very clever, but hard work and sheer determination has got me to places.
All right. So when you look in the day in your life, you said you've got keynotes and things like that. So your job description, what is it like that you're
Yeah,
doing daily?
yeah, well, different things. So some days I'm writing a book. Some other days I'll be traveling to deliver a keynote in a conference or in another country. Other days I'll be doing webinars all day because that's the way the world is at the moment. So I've got a
Right.
nice variety. I've now built a team. There's 25 of us across who deliver this stuff. So essentially, what that means is I'm now in a fortunate position where I can pick and choose what I do a little bit instead of having to do everything. I can pick the events that I really want to go to. So I get to go to the best events, and if I don't fancy it, I'll send one of the team. So, but it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I can make a very good living out of something that I absolutely love to do. And I think what all your other speakers will say the same thing. If you can find a job that you love, then you never have to work a day in your life. I think there's another cliche there, but that's true. That is true.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. If you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't seem as much like work. Awesome. So, love that. So, with your journey through positive psychology and college and that, for any of my students that might be interested in the world of psychology in general, and they would be going to college or jobs afterwards, is there any advice or skills or tidbits of information you feel might help them or benefit them along
Yes,
the
mate.
way?
I'm just going to I'll give one thing. I've just got one PowerPoint that I want to share.
Yeah, of
I think
course.
the thing with me is that we're all playing small. Too many people is playing small. And I did for 40 years of my life. I didn't know what I know now back then. Okay. So I feel amazing now. I haven't always felt amazing. I haven't always been happy and super successful. So I've learned it would be stupid of me to research happy people and interview them and find out the secrets of happiness and not apply them to myself. So that
Right.
would be crazy. Yeah. So I've adopted other people, I've borrowed other people's ideas, and my life is epic. But there's one thing, if I was 17, 18, 19, one thing that I didn't know then that I know now that has massively accelerated my life. And it's what I call huge, unbelievably great goals. Okay.
Okay.
So what I think far too often young people are taught to set smart objectives, which are realistic and achievable, and quite frankly a little bit boring. Okay,
Okay.
now I also write children's books, so it's a weird life that I have. Yeah,
I
so as
like
well
it.
as yeah. So my life changed many years ago. I had an idea in my head, right? So backstory. I failed English at school. I'm not a very good writer, but I had an idea in my head that my pet dog was actually, what if she was a secret agent dog? All right, just go with it. Just go with it. What if
Okay.
actually, while I'm at work and my children are at school, my pet dog goes out around the city solving crimes and catching baddies? All right. So what if she's actually a secret agent, a spy dog undercover in our house, which is a very random sort of stupid sort of idea. But I didn't know where to start with that. So what I did was I set myself what I call a huge, unbelievably great goal. Let me just share this with you.
Sure.
So I actually literally got a piece of A4 paper. In fact, let me show you my books. This is my book. There's 20 books in that series, and Netflix are talking about doing that next year as well. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a really big deal in my life, right? So how did I get there? How did I do? Even though I can't write, I'd never written a book before in my life. I got a piece of A4 paper. I did a huge pyramid on it like this. Divided the pyramid into little bits. In the yellow bubble at the top, I actually wrote in there. In fact, I might even have it in the book. I wrote in there to become a best-selling children's author in 2 years' time. Right now, that for me, that was just ridiculous. That was so huge. That was just completely crazy. It was almost unbelievable. And so I needed to know how do I start that? Where do I start on becoming a best-selling children's author? So I went down to the bottom of that diagram, and I started to put in there the little things that I was going to have to do every single day of my life in order to stand any chance of moving forwards. And I filled in the pyramid, and then I stuck the pyramid on my fridge. And every day before I went to work, I would look at the pyramid, I'd get the milk out and look at me. I'm going to be a best-selling children's author in 2 years' time. All I've got to do is start to do these things. And then crucially, I started to do those things. I have my original, this is 15 years old. It wasn't very neat at the time, right? That is my original, huge, unbelievably great goal, to become a best-selling children's author in 2 years' time. And almost exactly 2 years later, I walked into the bookshops and the first Spy Dog was on the shelves. There's now 20 books in that series. Okay, now, and this isn't about me bragging about being a children's author. It's not about being an author. It is about giving yourself rocket fuel in your belly, giving yourself something to go for that excites you, giving yourself a reason for getting out of bed in the morning. All right, because most people's objective is to get through the week, which is why nobody's got energy or passion in their life. A huge, unbelievably great goal could be to go to a top university, to become a doctor, to own your own business. It doesn't matter what it is. The fact is you've got it and it excites you and you know how to get there. So that would be my top tip, is set yourself huge, unbelievably great goals.
I love it. And then the little steps that you can do daily to slowly get you there.
I call them SUGs. So the big one, hugs is a huge, unbelievably great goal. These are SUGs, small, unbelievably great goals. But these are the everyday activities, yeah. And these are super important because it's easy to be distracted in the modern world. It's easy to spend hours on Facebook. It's easy to be on TikTok and Instagram rather than pursuing your dreams.
No, I love that. And two, the consistency of doing it every day slowly gets you to where. If I could ask you personally, the pyramid getting up to that, where you become an author, that payoff of becoming an author versus the journey to get there, would you say that the journey and little breaks to get closer and closer, was that almost as exciting as reaching the big goal, or was the icing on the cake like really the ultimate payoff? I was just curious if the journey was as exciting as the end.
That's a super cool question. Okay, I think that pyramid gives me what I call willpower and way power. So what it does, it gives me way power. I mean, it gives me somewhere I'm going. I know a direction, but it also gives me willpower. It gives me the sort of motivation and the fire in my belly. Once you have a huge, unbelievably great goal that excites you, that's on the edges of achievability, and it only can be achieved by you being your best self consistently. Once you have that in your life, then your motivation will take care of itself. I promise you. You will just feel different. You will feel more creative. You'll feel more energized because you have purpose and passion, where most people, they are sadly lacking in that. So honestly, it massively accelerated my life. Then I did another one. I've only done two huge goals in my entire life. One was to become a children's author, and then the second one was to become a doctor of happiness. And when I wrote my other doctor of happiness hug, there's not even such a job. Nobody's a doctor of happiness. I was inventing a job that didn't even exist. It was ridiculous. And it took me 12 years, but I got there. And again, they're the two instances that my life has dramatically changed for the better.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that info, and the tip of setting those small goals to get to the huge goal and setting our sights. Wonderful. I feel the energy. I know my students do as well. I appreciate, and I know that you are a busy gent, and that, as you said, since you have your own business, you get to pick and choose, and you picked to be here with us. So thank you for that. With that being said, I'm sure a lot of students are feeling your energy. What's the best way for them to get in touch with your books, seeing your consistent outreach so that they can feel those good vibes and potentially feed off that and find a new path in their life as well?
Yeah, cool. Well, we've got a series of books aimed at young people. So I've got a one that I wrote with a lady called Susie Lavington, which is a girl's guide to being fearless, which is aimed at teenage girls. I think teenage girls are having a particularly hard time at the moment with social media. I've also got maybe it's slightly younger than 17, 18, but The Art of Being a Brilliant Teenager. But if you follow me on Twitter @BeingBrilliant, or just drop me an email, in fact, I'll send you that pyramid, right? And you can share it with your students. That would be great. I would love to see some of those filled in and on social. Yeah,
I love that idea. Absolutely. I'll be happy to share the PDF with them, and hopefully some of them already have some huge goals, but they never wrote it down. And maybe, like you said, when they're in that fridge, they're going to see it now, and maybe they'll push a little harder.
Yes, indeedy. Yeah, life is a short and precious thing. It's hurtling by in a blur, and I think I think if I knew this when I was 18, I don't know, I'd be prime minister or president or something.
I love it. Well, you've got my vote. Dr. Andy Cole, thank you so much for your time. And on behalf of myself and my students, we thank you and have a great day.
You too. Thanks for having me.